To say something as simple as, yes, I will follow the Constitution, you know, the thing that actually derived from the oath that he was supposed to take. And he supposedly took an oath, which there's a lot of people that point out that he never put his hand on the Bible. The fact that you just got done engaging in a conversation where we have a president of the United States who has no idea about the oath that he just took on January 20th tells me everything that I need to know. He didn't even have good sense enough in that same interview.
Donald Trump prides himself on dominating debates, but not this time. Jasmine Crockett dismantled his argument so thoroughly it left him flailing on national television. Discover how Crockett's courtroom skills turned Trump's chaos into a self-destruction show. Why do seasoned politicians crumble when they go head-to-head with Donald Trump? It might seem like they would have the poise and experience to hold their own, but then you see them lose their cool on camera, and suddenly it's like they've never done this before. And that's exactly how Trump wants it. His so-called chaos strategy is no accident. It's practically in his playbook. Distract, provoke, dominate. It's what he does best. From name-calling to outlandish claims, Trump's entire style is designed to throw his opponents off balance, forcing them to react emotionally instead of thinking clearly. He thrives in messy situations, creating a reality where no rules apply, not even basic politeness.
So the idea that you are now taking the Constitution and, as I said at the DNC, putting it through a paper shredder is a problem. And I think that this should not be partisan, even though he acts as if he could somehow be the Pope. But nevertheless, that oath specifically says that you will defend the Constitution.
And unfortunately, many politicians fall into his trap. They underestimate how effective it can be to simply cause mayhem and let everyone else spiral. Take the 2020 presidential debates, for example. Trump interrupted Joe Biden so many times that even the moderator, Chris Wallace, had to basically beg him to stop talking. Biden, to his credit, held on, but you could see his frustration building with every word Trump threw his way, like when Biden famously muttered, "Will you shut up, man?" That soundbite got laughs and sympathy afterward, sure.
This should be right versus wrong. A lot of the things that this administration is doing, they don't have anything to do with partisanship. This is right versus wrong, and right now, they are consistently wrong.
But in the moment, it allowed Trump to claim victory in his own mind. He wasn't trying to look presidential, he was trying to tire Biden out, annoy him into making errors. And guess what? Plenty of viewers remembered the chaos more than any actual policy discussion. Even seasoned pros in Congress struggle against Trump's antics. Look at Speaker Nancy Pelosi during her encounters with Trump back when he was in office. Pelosi, known for being a calculating and polished politician, occasionally lost her cool thanks to his constant barrage of interruptions and dramatic posturing. Remember the infamous meeting where she stood up, pointed her finger at him, and walked out? Sure, the photo became iconic, and plenty of people cheered her on across social media, but it also proved just how effectively Trump can provoke his enemies into memorable moments of frustration. Political commentators have analyzed Trump's methods to death, but one takeaway comes up again and again. The second you try to out-Trump Trump, you've already lost. Experts from the Brookings Institution have referred to this as the black hole strategy. Trump absorbs all the energy of a conversation, pulling everyone into his orbit until they're burned out. George Lakoff, a cognitive scientist, once explained that Trump's language choices force people to respond emotionally instead of intelligently. By the time his opponents try to recover, the damage is already done. They look flustered or defensive while he keeps hammering away with the same chaotic rhythm. And it's not just Democrats struggling here. Even Trump's fellow Republicans have stumbled trying to match his antics. Marco Rubio, during the 2016 GOP primaries, tried to fight Trump's name-calling with childish jabs of his own. Who can forget little Marco trying to turn the tables by mocking Trump's hand size? Instead of coming across as clever, Rubio looked amateurish and petty. Exactly what Trump wanted. These tactics undermine whoever tries to take him on because they drag everyone down to the muck, leaving Trump as the mud king. It's the kind of environment where screaming matches replace structured arguments, and mature debate ends up looking like a playground fight. Even Kamala Harris, known for being a tough debater, had a moment against Trump's running mate Mike Pence that showed how hard it can be to maneuver through chaos. During their vice presidential debate, Pence frequently spoke over Harris and ignored time limits. While Harris held her ground and repeatedly reminded him, "I'm speaking," it was clear that the constant rudeness threw the debate off course, making it less about ideas and more about interruptions. Now imagine Trump, who perfected that chaos with years of practice, and you start to see why so many politicians fail. But as unbeatable as Trump might seem in these situations, there is a way through. Where others get tangled in his web of drama, some have started deploying a radically different approach: preparedness and calm precision. Instead of yelling back or trying to keep up with his speed and volume, they slow things down, using facts like daggers to poke holes in his bluster. This isn't easy, of course, and few are able to pull it off, but one person has managed to figure it out, and she does it so masterfully it leaves Trump visibly rattled. Enter Jasmine Crockett. Crockett knows that arguments with Trump aren't like debates with normal politicians. They're battles in a staged circus. She approaches his words not as talking points to argue, but as statements to be dissected, analyzed, and often used against him like evidence in a courtroom. That's the beauty of her method. She doesn't try to out-Trump him, she out-simplifies him. All the chaos, all the noise. She cuts through it with sharp precision. Trump thrives in chaos, but Jasmine Crockett thrives on order. Where his strategy revolves around distraction, hers leans on logic and facts, which he can't keep up with. And she's not afraid to call him out straight to his face, or to the millions watching at home. Instead of getting dragged down, she forces Trump onto shaky ground. He stumbles while she remains unshaken. It's an approach so unconventional in today's political world that it practically feels like watching a courtroom drama. And she's just getting started. Next, we'll dive into how Crockett's legal expertise shapes her tactics, and why those same skills are making Trump explode in frustration. What happens when you treat Donald Trump's chaotic rants like they're evidence in a courtroom? Jasmine Crockett knows the answer. With her background as a civil rights attorney, she's introduced a new type of political game, one where facts, not theatrics, control the narrative. This strategy makes her stand out because she's not stepping into Trump's arena of distractions. She's pulling him into hers, where reason and logic take over. And as we've seen, logic isn't exactly Trump's home field. Jasmine Crockett didn't just stumble into Congress. She walked in with the sharp instincts of a lawyer who spent her career arguing in high-stakes situations. Whether it's justice for those who've been left behind by the system, or demanding accountability from powerful figures, Crockett brings a mindset that prioritizes evidence-based arguments. In her world, it's not about who can yell the loudest, but who has the clearest case. And bringing that approach to the political chaos surrounding Trump, it's like introducing order into a hurricane. And the challenge, of course, is monumental. Handling Trump isn't like cross-examining just anyone. He's a man fueled by insults, falsehoods, and, let's face it, a refusal to stop talking. His strategy is constant noise designed to drown out any sense of structure or logic. Personal attacks are his bread and butter, while facts, those are breakable, bendable inconveniences in his mind. For Crockett, remaining calm under that kind of pressure is no easy feat, but somehow she manages to keep her poker face intact even as Trump throws tantrums that would make a toddler jealous. One of Crockett's most talked about moments came during discussions around Trump's handling of classified documents, a scandal that sounded straight out of a made-for-TV drama. While Trump was busy spinning every excuse imaginable, from claiming he had the absolute right to do anything he wanted with documents to insisting they were magically declassified through his thoughts, Crockett took a very different approach. She didn't argue emotionally or waste time calling him names. Instead, she calmly broke down the layers of lies, citing actual legal standards. During a congressional hearing, Crockett drilled into the requirements for declassification, pointing out that there's a clear process involving documentation and approval. She laid out how Trump failed to follow these procedures, leaving no doubt that his excuses held about as much water as a sieve. Trump's defenders tried their usual tactics, deflection and outrage, but Crockett didn't flinch. She stuck to the facts, the statutes, the rules. And while Trump's side sputtered with their usual bluster, Crockett moved on, unbothered, her case made. Trump's reaction? Well, let's just say it wasn't one of his quieter moments. He didn't offer a counter-argument or attempt to disprove what Crockett had said. Instead, he did what he's always done, made it personal. Angry outbursts and name-calling were his only responses, as if tantrums could somehow undo her points. It wasn't just ineffective, it was embarrassing. And here's the kicker. Crockett's approach, staying rooted in facts and evidence, didn't just expose Trump's weak arguments. His reaction ended up proving her right. Here's why this bothers Trump so much. His playbook relies on making everything about feelings, anger, frustration, outrage. But Crockett doesn't let that work on her. Her years in the courtroom trained her to focus on facts, not emotions. She treats every interaction like a cross-examination, dissecting statements, exposing contradictions, and shining a spotlight on the truth. This is precisely why Trump's usual tricks falter. It's hard to shake someone who sees your bluster as just another piece of evidence for their case. Political analysts have taken notice too. They've pointed out how Crockett's legal approach is a game changer. A study from the Brookings Institution explains that Trump's chaos strategy thrives on creating emotional reactions, but Crockett's precision flips that on its head. By sticking to cold, hard facts, she forces his defenders and anyone watching to confront the actual substance of the argument, or, in Trump's case, the lack thereof. It's a stark contrast to the shouting matches we're so used to seeing in political arenas. Crockett doesn't shout, she clarifies. The icing on the cake? Crockett's calm approach doesn't just win over her supporters, it openly frustrates Trump. His explosive reactions to her dismantling of his classified document excuses have been some of his most unhinged. While she delivers her points with razor-sharp focus, he flails, derails, and spirals. At one point, Trump reportedly lashed out, calling her nasty for her critique. Not exactly the refined response you'd want from someone trying to argue their innocence. But that's just it. Crockett doesn't need to beat Trump in the traditional sense. She lets him defeat himself. What makes this so effective is the simplicity of her strategy. While others get caught up in the mess of Trump's theatrics, Crockett keeps it clean. She doesn't fall for bait or cheap shots. She steers the conversation back to reality, and that's something Trump can't handle. Reality. By focusing on the facts, Crockett turns Trump's own tactics against him. His words, his actions, his excuses, they all become the tools she uses to take him down, calmly and confidently. By staying calm and sticking to the facts, Jasmine Crockett doesn't just disrupt Trump's chaos, she exposes it for the sham it is. And the best part? She does it in a way that's easy for anyone watching to understand. She's not speaking in legalese or pretending to be above the fray. Instead, she lays it out plainly so that everyone can see exactly what's going on. One person pointing out the facts, and another person trying to yell over them. But yelling doesn't erase the truth. How does Jasmine Crockett turn calm political takedowns into viral moments that light up millions of screens? The answer lies in her unapologetic style, the perfect blend of sharp wit, brutal honesty, and just enough humor to drive her point home. She doesn't shy away from confrontation, and she doesn't just play defense either. When attacked, she counters with lines so bold they instantly resonate. This approach has made her stand out in a political landscape often overcrowded with cautious, overly polished candidates who try to please everyone but connect with no one. Crockett, she's the opposite. She doesn't just connect, she electrifies. One thing that keeps Crockett in a league of her own is her fearless ability to seize control of the moment, no matter how messy it gets. Online, her responses to Donald Trump's insults routinely go viral because she doesn't run from them, she turns them right back around. Trump, sticking to his usual bag of tricks, once labeled her a low IQ person, a favorite insult aimed at anyone threatening to outshine him. Crockett's response shredded that insult in a single sentence. "For you to be in charge of the whole country, you sure do have my name in your mouth a lot," she wrote, adding, "Every time you say my name, you're reminding the world that you're terrified of smart, bold black women telling the truth and holding you accountable." That comeback didn't just sting, it dominated the conversation, proving that Crockett knows how to weaponize Trump's own tactics against him. And here's where Crockett shines even brighter. While some of her peers might tiptoe around Trump's jabs, or worse, ignore them in an effort to stay classy, Crockett goes all in, fearlessly addressing the insult for what it is before moving on to bigger points. Her strategy serves two purposes. It shuts down the attack in real time, and it exposes the deeper insecurities driving it. For Trump, attacks like low IQ have never been about someone's actual intelligence. They're designed to distract. But Crockett refuses to take that bait, responding with statements that not only embarrass Trump, but also reinforce her own narrative. And she's funny while doing it. That mixture of humor, directness, and confidence makes her impossible to ignore. Republicans, of course, aren't thrilled about any of this. Trump's defenders often try to outdo him by doubling down, labeling Crockett's intelligence as overrated or suggesting she's playing the race card. Crockett's approach to that kind of rhetoric keep the focus on their hypocrisy. Recently, when Trump's team scrambled to dismiss criticism about his handling of classified documents, Crockett hit back with an explanation so straightforward it went viral. She laid out how classified documents are declassified went through clear, formal processes Trump openly ignored. Instead of screaming about corruption or incompetence, she calmly clarified legal procedures, leaving millions of Americans watching the clip wondering, why didn't anyone else explain it like this? Crockett's ability to stay composed makes her all the more dangerous to her opponents, and she's always quick with a line that sticks. One of her now iconic comments, describing Republicans' unwillingness to stand up to Trump as castrating their constitutional duty, caused headlines to light up across the political spectrum. But it's not just the boldness of the statement that lands, it's the blunt accuracy behind it. Crockett steers her punchlines toward revealing larger truths, and she doesn't concern herself with whether or not Republicans in the room like it. This blunt confidence is exactly why so many of her sound bites spread like wildfire. Political experts often talk about how social media rewards leaders who communicate plainly and authentically. Crockett has perfected this, and honestly, it puts some of her more polished Democratic colleagues to shame. Instead of over-rehearsed statements polished down to meaninglessness, she delivers clarity. She makes it look easy, exposing flaws in Republican arguments while keeping it simple enough for anyone flipping through TikTok to understand in seconds. Other politicians try too hard to sound sophisticated and lose their audience in the process. Crockett, she knows you don't need to sound fancy to cut through noise. You just need the truth served sharp. But perhaps the most revealing thing about Crockett's no-holds-barred style is how it makes Trump react. The man who seems to thrive on dominating the narrative, he outright spirals whenever Crockett takes the stage. Her ability to remain calm and unflustered, whether she's on the House floor or being attacked in interviews, makes his usual tantrums look all the more childish. Trump thrives on chaos because it exhausts people, but Crockett plays at a different pace, forcing him to keep up with her laser focus. And when he can't, he lashes out, validating everything she's already said. Crockett's unapologetic style also repositions her as a symbol of something larger. Her sharpest one-liners aren't about herself. They're designed to strike a chord with everyday Americans who are sick of both Republican antics and the Democrats' sometimes overly cautious responses. When she pokes holes in Republican hypocrisy, she's not just talking to Congress. She's talking to the millions of people watching at home, the ones frustrated by political theater and desperate for honesty. And yet she doesn't come across as some untouchable hero riding on moral high ground. She's open, director, bold. She doesn't just fight Trump's attacks, she outthinks and outsimplifies him, which might be the ultimate insult to a man who can't stop hearing his own voice. What's interesting is that unlike Trump, Crockett has no interest in making things personal. She lets her detractors do that themselves, taking Trump's name-calling and nonsense as proof of her exact arguments. By meeting him head-on without flinching, she exposes each of his weaknesses. Crockett's sharp wit and fearless takedowns have made her a nightmare for Trump and his defenders. When she speaks, she doesn't just silence the noise. She owns the entire room, the screen, the narrative. And what makes it even more powerful, she always circles back to the facts, keeping her audience grounded even when the conversation could easily spiral. Trump may run the circus, but Crockett makes sure everyone watching knows it's all an act. But don't think for a second that it begins and ends with the viral moments. Behind every sharp line and viral zinger, Crockett's strategy runs deeper, and it targets the one thing Trump fears most, his weakest legal vulnerabilities. Jasmine Crockett isn't just standing up to Trump, she's showing how facts, composure, and a bit of bold confidence can cut through even the messiest chaos. While Trump reacts with personal attacks and wild distractions, Crockett sticks to her script, evidence, and logic. And here's the kicker, his tantrums only prove her point. What would politics look like if more leaders took this approach? Instead of answering every insult with another, imagine focusing on truth over theatrics. One thing's clear, Trump's flustered, frustrated explosions say it all. He's met his match, and for once, the chaos doesn't win.